What's up, guys? So we've been doing these series. We did the S21 series, the S22 series. Now we're going to do the S23 series. Here we have the S23, the S23 FE, the S23 Plus, and the S23 Ultra. These are fantastic phones to buy. I still think these are some of the best phones that you can buy just in general for 2024 because you're getting a lot of the benefits from the S24 series, but you're getting them at a much cheaper price as well too, which is something that I really like. So there's a lot to like about the S23 series, and Samsung did a bunch of, few things like the Galaxy AI, bringing it to the S23 series, and absolutely love this series. So let's go ahead and first check out the price and see where we're at. Alright, so let's talk about the price. Now, the S23 Ultra is going to cost you around $669 in the used refurbished marketplace, and S23 Plus around $474, which I honestly think out of the whole series, I think the S23 Plus would probably be the best device if you don't need an S Pen. And then you also have the S23 FE, which a lot of people dislike. It's $329. It's really not a bad deal at all. And you also have the standard S23. You can find this for around $380 as well too. Alright, so let's talk about the displays real quick here. So obviously with the S23 being the smallest display here, and it's going to be the phone that is going to be the easiest to hold as well too. So anybody looking for something a little bit more comfortable that you can kind of easily one hand, you would definitely pick up this device. They all pretty much have the same. The screens all pretty much look the same for the most part. Very vibrant, colorful, dynamic AMOLED displays, HDR10+, 120 Hz on all of these phones. And the biggest thing that'll stand out here is that you'll see the S23 FE has bigger bezels. It does make it look a little bit cheaper compared to these devices, but again, a very minor thing. And then the only thing with the S23 FE is that this phone does have a lower max brightness as well too. But besides that, all of these phones are 1080p resolution, but the S23 Ultra is essentially 1440p here. So that'll be the big difference with displays. Now, all of these have flat displays except for the S23 Ultra. It does have a curved panel, but it is a very minor curve to it. It's not an aggressive curve, which is something that I think is really cool as well. And yeah, the displays look fantastic on all of these phones. Really, really nice looking panels for the most part. So I think you'd be happy with any of these phones. So I would say if you really don't like the curved panel, right, the S23 Plus, you could spend less and get a just as good of a display. It's just not curved, and it's not going to be as boxy as well too. But yeah, so fantastic displays on all of these phones. Great thing about this year with the S23 series is that all of these phones have the Galaxy AI features on them, so you can experience all of the Galaxy AI features that you will find on the S24 series was brought down to the S23 series. So that's something that's really exciting. So if you do like the the sound of the AI stuff, everything is here. So I think you'd be really happy with that software wise. So these phones will get 4 years of major OS updates, and they'll get security patches after. So you can use these phones for quite a bit of time, and you won't have any issues with that as far as software wise. So again, very happy with just how smooth these phones are running. One of the best things about the S23 series is the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor. But with the S23 FE, we actually have the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor, which is a big deal if you're a gamer. If you're not a gamer, this is not really a big deal at all. But I'm going to show you why this is a big deal. It's a pretty big deal in performance jump, and then also the S23 FE is not as well optimized as the S23 flagship devices. So the issue with this 8 Gen 1 processor is that if you are a gamer and you're going to be gaming for a couple hours, this will heat up much more than the 8 Gen 2 pretty much. I haven't gotten it to the point where I've had it crash on me or anything like that, but as you can see, if you run a wildlife test, just the 1 minute test, we went from 33 to 38, and then we also on the S23 went from 41 to 44. So this is going to heat up, and you can only imagine that that was only a 1-minute test. So it's just not as efficient, and also that will also eat into the battery life as well too. But when it comes to speed, basically the 8 Gen 1 is still really fast. It's not like it's really a slow phone at all. It's very smooth animation wise. So that's why I said this only matters if you are a gamer. So like I was saying earlier, so with the S23 FE, you can see our best settings are going to be HDR Extreme. Now with the rest of the S23 series, we can actually play at 120 frames. So like I said, if you're a serious gamer, you definitely are going to want to save that extra money and put it towards getting an S23 Plus or Ultra or just the standard S23, because you will get much better frame rates if you are competitive gaming. If you're not competitive gaming, the S23 FE does a fantastic job, like I said, at just casual gaming. You come in here for a match or two and you're not really, you're not really like a gamer like that, right? But if you are, again, you definitely gonna appreciate having those higher frame rates and also having the phones not heat up as much. Now I do want to talk about hardware here. So obviously the S23 Ultra is going to be a little bit boxier. It's not going to be as comfortable as the rest of the phones, but with the S23 Ultra you get the S Pen, and you have to kind of decide if you're somebody who cares about the S Pen. There's a lot of features that Samsung has thrown in here to make the S Pen just a really cool device when it comes to just using it as navigating digital artwork. Samsung also has a lot of stuff in here. This also is Bluetooth, where if you're a content creator or something like that, you can film from a distance, by yourself on a tripod and just take photos with the pen, and you'll be perfectly fine. So that's one thing that I like. But if you're looking for, I would say, the most comfortable phone that's going to be big, if you want a bigger screen, then you would get the S23 Plus here. It's rounded on the edges. It just feels really comfortable. All phones are IP68 dust and water resistant. They all have wireless charging and reverse wireless charging as well too. And yeah, they all still look basically identical to the S24 series. So overall, beautiful design on these phones. So let's go ahead and check out the speakers at max volume. So what I found interesting here is that the S23 Ultra does have a louder speaker than the S23 Plus. It's just a little bit louder, but I thought that was interesting. I thought they would have the same, kind of speaker, but there is a difference there. The S23 has the, I guess, the quieter speaker. I wouldn't call it like, it's not like it's super low. Yeah, it just doesn't have as much bass as the S23 FE. Yeah, but I would say because it's like the quality of the S23 FE speakers are not the same. Even though it's loud, it sounds slightly different from the S23 and Plus and the Ultra when it comes to like hearing the hi-hats. But they all sound great. I would say the S23 Ultra does have the best sounding speaker here. And yeah, so overall, not a massive difference. They all have excellent speakers, but I thought that was pretty interesting. So there is one thing to note if you do end up buying a S23 FE, is that it does not have the same fingerprint sensor as the rest of these phones. This phone does have the optical fingerprint sensor. So basically, it's just a little bit slower. It's not as fast as the ultrasonic ones. The ultrasonic ones you can kind of tap, and they just feel a little bit faster. But like I said, it's not like a big deal. So I definitely want to get into the camera quality. The good thing about buying an S23 series phone in 2024 is that the camera quality is pretty much almost identical to the S24 series. Now you will notice a difference with the S23 FE. The camera is not going to be as good as, you know, the S23 Plus and the Ultra, but it's a very good camera for the most part. I did not really have a problem with it. If you want to see, you know, how it kind of looks, I just did a comparison with the S23, so it's not too off actually in terms of quality, but you will notice in some shots that, especially with that telephoto lens, that the S23 FE is not as good, and I thought the ultra wide wasn't as good, but the main sensor on here is really good. Video is solid on here as well too. It's an absolutely fantastic phone, but yes, the other models will take slightly better photos. So if you're extremely interested in image quality, I would pay the extra money. Now I would say that if you don't take a lot of zoom photography shots, you can pretty much get away with just buying a S23 Plus or just a regular S23. If you don't take a lot of zoom shots, like let's say you go out to a lot of events where you would need it, the 10 times, the 30 times looks excellent on the S23 Ultra. You have the 100 times zoom, which the other phones you know, do not have. They can only go up to 30 times. So again, with the S23 Ultra, if you don't take, you know, kind of like zoom shots, then I really wouldn't spend that extra money to get it. I think you'd be perfectly fine with the other phones. Alright guys, lastly I want to touch on battery life. So battery life is excellent on all of these phones. So that's why I said this is one of my favorite series, because the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 does a fantastic job. The only thing I wish with these phones is that they charged a little bit faster. I think like the max charging speeds on the S23 Ultra is like 45 watts. But besides that, they all again have wireless, reverse wireless charging, and you just get great screen on time with these phones. The S23 Plus I think does an amazing job. I feel like I get better battery life on the S23 Plus here, but even the S23, the smaller one, the FE, these do a fantastic job with battery life, guys. So absolutely love the battery life on these phones. I think Samsung, this was the first year where I used the Samsung flagship when these phones first came out, where I was impressed with the battery life. You really notice the difference in screen on time. So that is pretty much it. Be sure to let me know, are you guys going to buy an S23 phone in 2024? Are you going to buy something else? Be sure to let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.